Well, I've just gotten in something new to check out. It's the Eachine Novice-I, and thank you to Banggood for supplying this to me for evaluation. This is a complete ready-to-fly beginner's kit. Has a little transmitter, quadcopter, and a set of little box goggles. And it's available in two versions. This one is the Fly More version with 10 batteries, and it's 165 at the time of recording. And you can also get one with just 2 batteries, and that one is 145. So here's everything that you get. It's very complete. It's a little simple little transmitter. I think this works on the FrSky DA protocol. Has a little phone holder, or you could also put something else in there. Simple, 2 buttons. I think that's it. I think these are just lights. Simple little set of box goggles. It's the VR005. Very lightweight. I think it has a built-in battery. Yeah, there's the screen. It's working. So I think it just has a USB input for charging, but no DVR and no video out for adding a DVR. So that's one of the ways they keep it nice and cheap. But should work for beginner, no problem. And here's the quadcopter. It's like an amalgam of a couple of things. Looks like a Larva X canopy and then a Nobula 7 frame. I think it's got a new flight controller, which I haven't tried yet. It's called the Nano X F4, just a little 5 amp, 4-in-1. And looks like a little VTX is stacked on top of there. And it's a Runcam Nano 2, so nice camera. I think these motors are, what are they? 1102, 13,500 kV. You can choose either 1 or 2S. Probably 1S for indoors and then 2S for outdoors. And you can see it comes with 10 batteries. I think these are high voltage, 300. Yeah, pretty typical charger. And you can charge up to 6 at once. So let me just charge up some batteries, and then we'll see. I'll just follow the instructions as a beginner might and see if we can get it to arm and maybe take off in stability mode. See if we get a picture on the goggles. Let's try that. Okay, so let's see how ready to go this thing is out of the box in terms of setup. But first, a couple of things to note. I did mention this, that you do need to supply 4 AAA batteries for the transmitter. And also I noticed there was a micro USB plug in there, but it doesn't seem to power the transmitter properly, and I don't think you can use this for like a simulator with USB or anything like that. And anyway, also when you put the batteries in, it powers up for some reason, so I'm going to power it down for now. And one thing that might be a bigger issue for some people is that for the charger that's included, you need to power this with something that has an XT60 on it or a little barrel connector like you have on a Fat Shark battery, 12 volts. And I think if this is your first RC, you may not have something with an XT60 on it, like a battery or some kind of power supply, so that might be an issue there. And it would be better, see this is USB-A output, but it would be better if that was a micro USB input, so you could power this with a power bank or something, or just some generic 5-volt USB out. So I think that's a bit of a miss there. People will probably have to figure out some kind of way to get power to the charger. Now for now I'm just going to use the battery so you can see how it works. And a couple of things to explain on the charger. You have 6 outputs, and on each one you can choose either 4.2 for regular batteries or 4.35 for high voltage, which these are, so I'm going to set it to 4.35. And then you can also choose a charging rate of 0.2 amps or 0.6 amps. And I think for the best health of the battery, you might want to just charge them more slowly at 0.2 amps. And then if you're in a hurry, switch it over to 0.6 amps. But I think you should kind of baby these little batteries. Let's see if this thing is all bound up out of the box, as they say, and ready to go with the goggles. Just for this little bench test, I'm going to use just use 1S. And if you use 1S, you need to use this plug. Plug this in there like that. Power on the radio holding this button down. And power on the goggles, I'll hold down the button. Goggles are on, as you can see. Oh, also one thing on these goggles to note, it is a RP-SMA connector, so that's the type where the hole is on the antenna and the pin is on the transmitter or receiver. So okay, goggles are powered up, and now according to the instructions, power it with the battery. So plug it in on the open end. Correct sounding beeps. Let's see if there's a picture. Ooh, look at that. There is indeed a picture. Looks pretty good from here. Nice. So it's got the OSD. Looks like it's all set up. And then, now press aux1, which is this button here, should be to arm it. Now, is it armed? Let's check. It is armed, look. Excellent. But now if we press it again, it will disarm. Is it disarmed? Oh no. It's not disarmed. What does that mean? Okay, now it's disarmed. In the instructions, it doesn't say what that... Maybe that's like a second rate mode. So, alright, so that's disarmed. And now, step 5. Okay, so step 5 is you can cycle through different modes. So it defaults in acro mode. So right now it's in acro mode. And if you press this once, Then the green light is on. Now that's in stability mode, which is probably how you'll be flying when you first get started. So probably 2 green is like considered beginner mode. So stability mode is on. Press it again. Oh, and then there's air mode, because you can see the motors are spinning. Air mode will keep the motor spinning even when at 0 throttle. So if you're doing flips and stuff, you can still have control authority even when the throttle is all the way down. That's the point of air mode. And then with no lights is just acro mode. But so far so good. It works exactly as advertised. It's all set up. If you were a beginner and you just got this, yeah, you wouldn't have to plug it in to beta flight at all. It's even on the right channel in the goggles. So now I think the only thing for it is to give this thing a flight. Put the goggles on and see if I can take it off and see how it flies around. Okay, so I've been flying the Eachine Novice around for the last week or so, using all the ready-to-fly components, and I think I'm ready to form an opinion on it, and at the end of this I'll give you a score, which is something I think I'll start doing from now on these little reviews. But anyway, so let's start with the good things, and the best thing about this kit, I would say, is the actual quad, the Eachine Novice. The components are very good. These 1102 13,500 kV motors seem very good. The flight controller seems good. This is a Runcam Nano 2. That's a proven camera. And I think it's a good combination of things, no doubt. And the fact that you can run it on both 1 and 2S makes it extremely versatile. But you might notice there's one issue. If you do run this on 1S, which you'll probably do if you fly this inside, the 1S battery just kind of flops around. It's not really secured in there in any way. You try putting it sideways, but it's going to come out. So what I found I had to do was I found a piece of this sponge or foam where you could actually cut out a piece of the case that this comes with and just make some kind of a little spacer or something like this that you can just stuff in there. Maybe something like so, and then the battery will then squeeze against that, and then it holds it actually quite well with something like that in there. So it'd be nice if they had included something specific, but I'm sure you can find a little piece of foam or something to fold up and put in there when you run 1S, but there was a little issue there, but it's pretty minor. But other than that, this is I think the quad itself is great. Flew it outdoors, no problems. Range seems fine on the built-in receiver, certainly better than the Crazy Bee V3 Pro for sure. So the components are totally acceptable. I'd give the quad, I would probably give, if I were to score it, I'd give the quad an 8, maybe 8.5. It's really good, and you can definitely grow with it over time. I actually like this plastic frame. I think it's good for inside and outside, and should hold up well. So that's so the quad is definitely a highlight of the ready-to-fly package. And now let's come to the things that I think aren't so great. And let's start with, I guess we'll start with the controller. So I think a weak point of this kit is the transmitter. I think a beginner that's just learning to fly is going to have a hard time with these sticks. It's very hard to be precise. It's kind of an all-or-nothing situation, and it's really hard to modulate the throttle. And I think for a beginner, it's going to be doubly hard to learn to fly with this because, as a beginner, I think your brain power is pretty much at capacity, just trying to keep the thing flying where you want it to go and keeping the throttle, at a good level where it's not hitting the ceiling or just bashing into the ground. To have on top of that these little sticks, which really have almost no precision, where it's there's a dead spot in the center, and then you move it this way and it starts to go too much, then you go back, and then you end up in just pretty much like a pilot-induced oscillation trying to use this controller. And I think it would hinder a beginner's early going. But, I mean, this whole package together is just, say, $150. And that's basically, I think, half the price of the next cheapest tier, which I think would probably be $300. So, I mean, that's just the breaks. If you only have $150 to spend, you're going to be, I think, stuck with a transmitter like this. So it's a bit of a shame, but it does work, and it is set up well out of the box with the arming and the arming and the flight modes, and all that stuff works great. And a beginner won't have a problem with that, but just with the actual control of the model, I think a beginner might have a pretty hard time with this. And now on to the goggles, which are a little bit better, but still I would say not great. The biggest issue with these is, I would say, just kind of the fit of the goggles. I never got them to be comfortable, and if you're a younger person or if you have a smaller head, maybe it will be less of an issue, but just want to compare something here. Here are my Fat Shark goggles, and just look at the shape here, the curve of the faceplate. You can see that, and then you can see that part is, by comparison, almost just flat. And so all the weight of the goggles is just like right here, and just kind of rests just on right in the middle of your eyebrows, really. So that's all the weight, and they're not that heavy, so it's not a huge deal, but they're never going to feel comfortable no matter what you do with the straps. And right now, these straps are as long as they get, and I don't have that big of a head, but they're maxed out as they are. So not very comfortable, and the screen is also, it's a widescreen image, 16:9, and the footage I'm going to be showing you in the corner here was just recorded with my phone stuck into the screen, and I thought that would be the easiest way to show you exactly what the screen looks like. And so it's all stretched out because the Runcam Nano is not a 16:9 camera, it's a 4:3. But it does work, and you can see where the model is going, and if you're a beginner, it'll certainly get you in the air. There's no way you can get flying any cheaper than this, and this is basically $150. And I was thinking that the next tier up would probably be like $300, because imagine like maybe a little Hawkeye, a little pilot, or a FXT goggle, like an $80 reflector goggle, and then a $100 controller like an X9 Lite, or maybe some kind of a jumper. So that's like, you know, you're looking at, so that's like $180, and then on top of that you need a quad, so probably $80 or $90 for a decent quad, and so you're up into the high 200s. Basically $300 is the next tier, I think. So $145 for this is a good price, you know, or the Fly More with 10 batteries about $165. So you're getting, you know, everything you need to fly for sure, and everything is set up, and you don't need to plug it into Betaflight. So that stuff is all good. It's well set up. But I think these two components, the transmitter and the goggles, are, you're just going to want to get rid of these as soon as possible if you get into this hobby at all. So I think overall, I'm going to give the Eachine Novice-I ready to fly, the Fly More combo package, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. So like I said, the quad is probably like an 8 or an 8.5, but the transmitter I'd give a 5.2, and the goggles a 5, maybe a 6. But anyway, those bring the overall score down a bit. So I think a 7, that's still a pretty good score, but certainly there's plenty of room for improvement there. But anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.